Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to create a new output in order to output the script necessary to add our new instance to the VS Code SSH configuration file. Since we aren't running the provisioner on our local system, we're running it in Spacelift instead, we need an easier way to access this script necessary to add the connection information to that VS Code configuration file. So let's get started. Alright, so here we are back in VS Code. Now, if you take a look at the outputs that we have now, as you know, we just have the dev IP. We want a little bit more than that, so let's go ahead and create that. Let's create a new output. We'll call that connection script, just like so. Open and close some braces there, and that value is going to be template file once again. Now, here's exactly what we're doing. So if you go back over to our main.tf and look at our provisioner, as you can see, the command is basically just running this template file and utilizing the information within. So instead, what we can do is we can actually copy this. I'm just going to uncomment it by using Control/ there. And I'm going to copy this here, actually just this portion. And Control-C, then I'm going to recomment that. And then in outputs, I'm just going to head right here and paste that in. And instead of command, it's going to be value. So what we are doing then is we are now accessing the value of this template file with the host name, username, and identity file all substituted properly. As you remember, if we look in our SSH config script here, it needs to replace that host name, user, and identity file. So what will happen whenever it processes this output is it's going to replace those with the necessary items. Now there's only one thing we need to change here. As you can see, we don't have access to self anymore. Where here we had a provisioner within the EC2 instance, we had access to self. We do not have that within outputs. So what we're going to do is access that AWS EC2 instance. So we'll use AWS_instance dot dev_node dot public_IP. As you can remember here, AWS instance dev_node, and we just access the public IP of that. Now the user, of course, is Ubuntu, and the identity file is still located within the SSH directory. So we can go ahead and save this. And now let's go ahead and commit this to GitHub. So we'll just run a git add, git commit -m, added connection output, just like so, and git push -u origin main. All right, perfect. And if we head back over to our repository, I'll refresh to make sure it's all good there. We can take a look in our outputs and see our new output right here. Now I'm also going to just ensure that things went well. I should have done this already. Just run a Terraform FMT. Okay, cleaned up some spaces. That's perfectly fine, but everything else looks to be okay. So head back over. I'm going to back up. And as you can see, it's automatically picked up our new file and is planning to deploy. So now that it is planned, everything looks good. It looks like the plan was successful. Changes to outputs. Here it is, actually right here. Everything looks like it's working perfectly. So you can go ahead and confirm that, which isn't going to really do anything new except for add this new output. So give that a little bit. All right, apply complete. So now we have our connection script here, and it is all ready to go. So what you can do is just copy this here. You'll leave off that EOT here in EOT. We do not need that here doc syntax since we are running on PowerShell, or at least I am. So I'll go ahead and copy this and head back into VS Code, paste that in, hit enter. All right, no news is hopefully good news. Let's head up and open the command palette and SSH. As you can see, we have connect to host. Scroll down to the end, and there's our new host. So let's click on that And hopefully everything works out well. I'll select Linux. All right, perfect. It looks like everything worked exactly like we had hoped. If we run our Docker version, there we go. Docker is installed. Perfect. So now we have a way to access that script we used before, although it's not completely automated. It's still done within Spacelift, and we have access to that script to make things easier. Now you can also, if you head back to stacks, let's open our stack again, you can see the outputs here. Now the only issue is you've got these little /ns here that can actually cause a problem. PowerShell may not treat those right, so you may not be able to utilize this like you would hope. So it's actually just a little bit better to access it from within the stack here. All right, and of course, if you were using Linux, you should have seen the Linux version of this. This is all defined by what is set in your variables. But everything looks good. Go ahead and mark this lesson complete. Come on back to the next one and let's continue the course.